Hello, friends. This is Alia Jamal, the love coach, coming here live for another love circle. And today we are talking about navigating heartbreak and relationship shifts. And this is something that I have realized that this is an aspect of our own personal experience, our own internal experience with our heart that I never talked about or taught about. So in more than 3 years of me teaching Love Circle, that we have never talked about this topic. So I am very excited. I'm just going to get my notes ready over here. So first, let's look at heartbreak. Now, for you, heartbreak could be going through intimate relationship falling apart. It could be losing your best friend. That relationship is falling apart. It could be, somebody in your family, your siblings, your parents, that relationship is falling apart. So it's up to you how you want to take this, or you could be going through divorce, could be going through separation. It's up to you which relationship you want to look at as we are going through this conversation. But what I'll be teaching it from is a romantic partnership. When maybe your long-term partnership is falling apart, or short-term partnership is falling apart, or you're just going crazy in the dating world and you're like, I don't have any more emotional juices left to keep going. I want to shut down my shop. I want to just, close my door to anyone ever walking into my heart or into my love life. If that is where you are on the edge, this conversation is going to be very helpful, because when we don't know how to be in touch with our internal environment and we are completely sucked into our outer environment, that is when we start getting drained. That is when it feels very hard to go through this one episode and then wait forever and then go through another episode. It feels very draining. It feels very discouraging. So what I'll be sharing today is it's not going to be relationship advice. It's not going to be, hey, I think this is what you should do. It's going to be all about how the universe is set up, how you are a very integral part of this universe, how you are bigger than your body. You are actually a soul, a divine being having a human experience, and be able to understand this tiny part of your life, of your experience from that bigger perspective. So there might be things I'll be sharing that would not resonate with you, and that is completely okay. Because I'll be speaking from a much more expanded consciousness. And if you have not done the work to get to that level, you might get triggered, and that's okay too. So let's allow whatever needs to come to the surface, let it come out, because it's all good. And if you do need more support after this conversation, you can always reach out to me. You can DM me. You can find me on my website, aliajamalcoaching.com. And I would love to have a conversation with you. So let's dive in. Now, the first thing that we come across, even when we say the word heartbreak, is the pain. And if you personally have gone through a heartbreak, or you have seen your friend going through it, and their relationship is falling apart and all they want to do is hide and cry and eat ice cream, um, it feels so difficult to even witness another person when they are going through something so difficult. Now, let's first just work on that. In our human experience, we have labeled things good or bad. So a heartbreak, we have labeled it's a bad thing. And just because we have labeled it's a bad thing, even if another person is going through it or we are going through it, we cry with them, because that is how we have labeled it. Now, we have labeled marriage to be a good thing. So when somebody is getting married, we are, joined in with them. We are happy for them. We are saying congratulations to them. We are so excited for them. The same way we have labeled divorce to be a bad thing. So when somebody is going through divorce, all of a sudden everybody gets a little sulky, and we're sad for them, and we're just like, on walking on eggshells. We don't know what to really say to them, because we don't really know what's the right thing to say to them. Again, because we have labeled it wrong. So what about we take out the story, this is right, this is wrong, and we look at it, it just is. You're going through a you're going through a shift in your relationship. That's it. This one is falling apart. Next one is not here, might not be here for a long time. But when we take out that story that this is good and this is bad, that is when we take out the suffering. We're not talking about you're not supposed to feel the pain. We're talking about the suffering, the prolonged suffering that happens when we experience a relationship falling apart. Because pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice. Now, what are you going to do with the pain? Let yourself feel it. The way our human body is designed, if we don't come up with a story and if we don't try to numb ourselves, our body is equipped to process the biggest of emotions within 72 hours. And in some of the religious constructs, it's usually said, even if somebody dies, mourn for 3 days, and after that, try to get back to your normal routine. But what happens? We attach a story to the way a person died and why they died and how old they were. We attach so many stories to it, it becomes suffering. The same thing goes to heartbreak or a relationship falling apart. We attach so many stories to it. He was wrong. She was wrong. He did that wrong. And I did that wrong. All kind of judgments. But if you let all of that drop, if there's no right or wrong and it just is, there will be no suffering. There will still be pain because there is an energetical separation happening. Your body's going to feel it. Allow yourself to feel the pain. Give yourself a timeline that, I am going to let myself cut off from the world for a week, for a month, and then I'll see what I want to do next. Because when we go into pain, we are processing our pain. If we are not being present or aware with ourselves, that is when we slip into suffering. That is when we have so much time available that we'll tell ourselves different stories. So that is just the aspect when you're going through something in terms of relationship, let yourself feel the pain and resist from making it right or wrong. Some people, when they come out of a really difficult relationship, everybody expects them to be happy. Hey, you're out of such a bad relationship, you should be happy. And the person wants to cry because they're feeling the impact of that separation now. And then they feel bad for crying. So how about we drop all the stories? If you want to cry, go ahead and cry. If you want to laugh, go ahead and laugh. There's no right or wrong. Let yourself feel it. Do not come up with all kind of stories to cover the pain, to numb the pain, because if you don't process it, it's going to stay in there. It's going to stay in your, at a cellular level, the energy is going to stay. And that's why after some people, they go through very traumatic relationship experiences, come out of it with all kind of diseases because they were not processing the pain they were going through. On top of that, they have a lot of stories and suffering. So that is the perfect energy environment for all kind of diseases and germs to grow. So number one, let yourself feel the pain. Don't tell yourself a story. Another twist I want to add to it is pain is good. And now this is for the advanced students here who are ready to experience this. Pain is actually a really good thing. When we look at our existence throughout all of our lifetime, and not just this tiny lifetime that we are living right now and the tiny aspect that we are living right now. If we look at the bigger scale of our own existence, this moment is just like a tiny dot. When we go through pain, we are opening up to deeper and bigger levels of our soul. It's almost like, when you get squeezed, that is when the juices come out. It's there's so many um, uh, stories around it that a diamond is made under pressure. So when you're going through the pain, the pressure of that pain, the best aspects of you are coming out. Of course, not right away. The first time we are going through it, when it just starts, we are angry, we are screaming, we want to blame everybody, we want to complain to everybody. But at the level of your soul, pain is a really good thing. Now that I know this, I don't run away from pain. If I am going through some kind of pain, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, I get excited because I know what's going on. I know that I am going to a higher level, and I rather go to a higher level and go through this momentary pain than stay in a very happy, blissful place all the time and not get to live my soul's highest potential. So it really depends what you're really after. If you're after living your soul's full potential, pain is really good. And especially when you are being when you're experiencing pain in relationships that has to do with your heart and you feel like your heart is broken and it's cracked open, that's even a better thing. Because when your heart is being broken, it feels like it's broken. What's happening? It's opening up. The more your heart open, the more you get access to your higher self, to your soul. So pain is not a bad thing. It's a really good thing. The second aspect to it is when we go through heartbreak or relationship shifts, an easy thing to do is to close your heart and tell yourself, I will never do this again. All men are bad, all women are bad, everybody's bad, the whole world is bad. I'm just going to keep myself safe. I'm going to tuck my heart inside of me deep down, and I am never letting anybody in. Very easy to do that. But when we close our heart, we also close ourselves to getting access to the entirety of our soul. If you look at it, it's a pretty bad deal you're making with yourself when you close your heart. But again, if you don't even realize what does it mean to live the entirety of your soul, what does it mean to embody that level of light, if that is not on your radar, it's better that you close your heart. In your mind, that is a better deal. But if you do get curious, who am I? Why I'm here? What in the world I'm doing here? Yeah, I have a good degree. I'm making good money. I have good relationships here and there, and everything is going good. But what am I doing here? If you're asking yourself those deeper questions, it is so important for you to keep your heart open no matter what you're going through, no matter how many people have betrayed you, no matter how many people have cheated on you and have done things to you, it is very important to keep your heart open. How do we do that? Of course, when we are going through one blow after the other, it is very hard for us to keep our heart open because just part of our mechanism, the way we are created, when we experience trauma, naturally our heart closes and an energetical wall is created around it. Because if we don't do that, we can actually have a physical heart attack and die. And we all know people who have died of a broken heart. We all know that. So that is how our system is set up. That's why when we are going through a relationship shift, it's natural to close our heart. That's okay. You can close your heart, but also know that if I ever want to get to my soul's full potential, this heart needs to open. So let's talk a little bit about what opens the heart. As you're going through the heartbreak, if you pay attention to the universal bigger truths that when you're going through pain, it's a good thing. There's no right or wrong, because sometimes when we're going through a heartache, we internalize it that there must be something wrong with me. That's why this is happening. And if you won't think it, somebody else will remind you that, maybe a closed one, a friend, somebody will tell you, well, look at your track record. You have so many heartbreak going on. There must be something that you need to fix in yourself. We can have a whole class about why we experience broken relationships over and over. That is a completely different topic. We can talk about that in future, but right now we're talking about it. If you're going through it, doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. You're opening up to a new level. So when you embody that truth, and when you step into that trust that everything that happens for my own good, even if right now it feels terrible, even if right now I am in so much pain that I can't even feel my body. But in that moment of pain, realizing that whatever we go through, it's for your own good. And we're not talking about in 10 years, you're going to become this amazing person and then it will be for your own good. Sometimes that is the case. I am personally embodiment of that. I look back what happened in my life 9 years ago, and today I'm super grateful for it. Super grateful. If you would have asked me at that time, I was ready to kill myself. So I completely understand when we are in pain, we go into that dark place. But if you sometime you don't see that. Sometime you might not see how it's good for you right here in this moment, and you're not ready to wait 10 years to see how good it will be for you, and you might never see it. But in that moment, remember the way your soul goes to higher level, or the way you connect to a higher level of your soul, is when you go through a lot of pain. Because something happens when we go through a lot of pain, we let go of our ego. Most of the time, we guard ourselves through our ego. We create a false image of ourselves. We create a false confidence around us. And then we try to control and manipulate people and situations so we can feel safe. But when we hit rock bottom, for that tiny moment, we just let it all go. And we let ourselves be our true self in those moments. In those moments where you have let go of your ego and you're not trying to control yourself or other people, you're just like, I'm in so much pain, I don't even care about anything right now. When you get to that level, that is when you get access to a very, very, very high part of your soul. And that is all that was needed. And that is when you get access to the light of your soul, a higher light of your soul, and you're able to bring that within you. And also you are able to share that with other people. If you look at just people around you, just in your general periphery, you will find more people who have gone through maybe some huge difficulty in a relationship and they have stayed the course. Yes, they were, a hot mess at one point. They stayed the course. They kept working on themselves, kept connecting with themselves. And if you look at their life 5 years, 10 years down the road, they would tell you it was amazing because they become a better version of themselves. So what happened, who did what is just a story. If you're going through a relationship shift, it's for your own good. That means your soul wants you to live at a higher level of your existence. You've been playing small, and that hitting rock bottom in terms of your emotions is going to open you up to that higher level. And as you're going through that, right now you're in the midst of that pain, just remembering this truth, because these are not the things that we are taught. We are taught a lot of ways to criticize ourselves and how the perfect relation should be. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship. We all create whatever we want to create in our life. No two relationships are same. So just pressuring ourselves, labeling ourselves, that is what creates a lot of suffering. So as you move through this transition, if you focus on the trust that I am headed somewhere amazing, definitely better than where I was, because one of the laws of the universe is life is always for more. So wherever you are today, tomorrow you'll be at a better place. And the day after that, you'll be at a better place. You might not feel it, but you are moving forward because that is how this universe is designed. We always move towards a better place. If you can hold on to this concept, this level of consciousness, your heart is going to stay open because now you're moving through pain with trust. We can move through pain with trust. We don't have to close our heart and hide away. If that is needed, go ahead and do that, but then also do the inner work to allow your heart to open and just practice moving through pain with open heart. I personally practice that now that I have done it, multiple times, many times. I have enough practice. And now when I am going through some painful situation, and I am able to keep my heart open, it feels cathartic. It feels like, there is such a high energy available as I am processing that pain. That wasn't the case in the past. In the past, I would suffer, I'll cry, it will hurt, everything will hurt. The whole body will hurt. But now the same thing has become a joyful process. Yeah, there's still tears. Yeah, there's still sadness, but it does not hurt the way it used to hurt because the heart is open, because the heart is trusting. If I am going through this, this must be good. This must be good. And I know wherever I am going, that must be good because that is the law. That is how this universe is created, whether I see it or not, whether I believe it or not. But in my personal experience, I have had enough experience. I have had played with this theory enough time that I know that this is a universal truth. And there's so many things that we are taught that are not really true, but we think they are. So when we focus on the truth, there's always less suffering. And in most cases, there's no suffering, but you can focus on the truth and move through the pain all at the same time. So now, looking at your life, wherever you are, and whatever pain that you're going through, first ask yourself, are you trying to argue in your head with somebody else, with the other party? And again, it could be your best friend that the relationship is falling away from apart. It could be your parents, it could be a sibling, it could be your ex-partner, it could be somebody that you've been with only for a few weeks. It could be any of that. Are you trying to make yourself right, or are you trying to make that person wrong? Are you turning against yourself? If that is what you're doing, tell yourself to just stop. This is just a story that came to be because we needed a story to justify us falling apart. If you take out the story and if you just say, like, these two people were together and now they're not. They're two adults who decided not to be together, and that's okay. Most of the time, we want to feel safe, and we want to feel safe by controlling and manipulating other people and holding on to them. So when they decide to not be with us, we feel out of control. So we come up with elaborate story to make them wrong, make ourselves right. And that, my friend, is where the suffering is coming from. When we accept what is, suffering drops. Pain still will be there. If you give yourself 3 days without trying to run away from it, numbing it, binge watching Netflix, if you don't do any of that, within 3 days, your body can process it and you will be able to get on the other side much faster. Now, another universal truth, let's add that here. When two souls come together and they are together for, the soul knows how long I'm going to be together with this person. Am I going to be together till I die, or am I going to be with this person for 10 years or whatnot? And also the creator knows. But now let's say their time is coming to an end, and now this person is supposed to be with this other soul, and this person is supposed to be with other soul. Maybe this person will be with that other soul after 10 years. They'll be waiting for 10 years. When we are coming to that kind of fork in the road, you know what's going to happen? An elaborate story will come. It could be he cheated, she cheated. It could be you lied, he lied. It could be all kind of amazing, elaborative story. But that is just a story. The truth is those souls have finished their work with each other. They're whatever they were supposed to do for each other, and that is usually activating that part within each other and kind of pushing ourselves to our limit. So we are forced to connect with a bigger, better part of us. We are forced to connect with our own internal light. When we are forced in that way, that's all that was supposed to happen. That is all that other soul was supposed to do in our life. There's no such thing, all men are bad or all women are bad. Those are stories we have created so we can justify our own suffering. But if we choose not to suffer, we don't need a story. We can accept wherever we are. And that acceptance itself opens our heart because now we are trusting if this one is falling apart, there must be something else in the future. And what am I doing in the meantime? I'm working on myself, becoming a better version of me, connecting with a higher version of me, revealing more of my light, bringing out my deeper light into the world, working on yourself. That is what we are supposed to do as we are going through heartbreak. Instead of jumping into another relationship, work on yourself. Your heart is opening, you're hitting rock bottom. This is the time to connect with a deeper part of your soul, deeper part of yourself. The worst thing we can do is jump into another relationship but of course, we are human. We do that. We do all kind of amazing stuff to run away from our pain. But when we let ourselves experience the pain, that is when the doors of our higher dimension, our own existence, open up to us. And that is why we are going through this whole process to begin with. Any kind of loss, it could be loss of a loved one, it could be loss of your money, loss of property, loss of a relationship. Any kind of loss comes in our life to activate us. But if instead of getting activated, we numb the pain with whatever ways we numb the pain, or we go for just another relationship because that bandage feels really good, if that is what we are doing, then we don't really get to experience the benefit or the reason why we are going through that, why our soul is choosing to go through that heartbreak or that separation and whatnot. So just to recap, if you're going through a heartbreak, if you're going through a relationship shift, whether it's just, separation or whether it's divorce, let yourself feel the pain. Don't try to make anybody right or wrong. Those are the stories that will get you stuck in the suffering. Trust that something else more beautiful is waiting for you in the future. Open your heart with that level of trust that it must be good for me, otherwise it won't even happen. Even though right now I feel like I am on the rock bottom, but it is good for me. I might not be able to understand why it's good for me. Why do I have to go through it? Now, in that moment, if you don't judge yourself, it'd be so much easier to believe it. What happens? We start judging ourselves. We start making ourselves bad. We say there's something wrong with me. That's why I keep going through so many heartbreaks. When we tell that story, that is when we suffer. So if you don't go into the story, if you just stay with yourself, this is good for me. That's why I'm going through it. Your heart will stay open and your pain will be so much easier to process. And also know when a soul's work in your life is done, no matter how hard you want to drag that relationship, it's just not going to work. Because we are so attached to our physical bodies, but we are metaphysical beings. We are divine beings. We are energetical beings having a human experience. 1% of you is in this body, 99% of you is still in that dimension of the light. And that is the part of you that is going through this journey. And we get attached to our lives, our life stories, our homes, our cars, our husbands, or our wives. We get attached to all of that. And we want it to stay the same. But life is always changing. And change is good. If we don't tell ourselves the story, the change is bad. It could be one of the most beautiful things that you go through. That is all for today. I'm sending you all so much love. If this is something you are going through and you would like my support, I would love to be your guide to keep your heart open and help you heal it too and live from your heart. You can DM me or you can reach out to me on aliajamalcoaching.com and book a consultation. I would love to have a conversation with you. I'll see you all next Thursday. I'm sending you so much love. Bye.